And you're welcome to have others join you if you wish. Senator Landon always just cuts it to the nib.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Love that show. All right, it's 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead. Our first file for consideration is Senate Files 114, Election of Representatives by County. We have Senator McEwen here. Welcome, my chairman. Good to see you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This bill restores county-based representation in the Wyoming House and reasserts our state's constitutional authority to structure our own legislature. The Wyoming Constitution establishes counties as the foundational political units of state government. They are coherent communities with shared economic, geographic, and civic interests. And our legislative districts should respect those historic and constitutional boundaries. Under the current system, counties and towns are routinely split apart to achieve strict population balancing. Legislative lines cross county lines and divide communities, and the redistricting process has become a miserable exercise in drawing arbitrary lines rather than true community representation. County delegations, once so clearly understood and locally accountable, have been lost. Everyone in Wyoming knows what county they live in, but few could name their legislative district number. This bill returns us to the county-based multi-member House districts used prior to the 1990s. Larger counties will stand alone. Small neighboring counties will be grouped only when necessary to meet federal population standards. Population deviations will remain within established judicial limits, ensuring full compliance with federal constitutional requirements. This proposal defends the state's authority by aligning the House structure more closely with the Wyoming Constitution. It protects rural representation by preventing smaller counties from being split and submerged with larger population centers. It preserves county integrity by keeping political communities intact rather than slicing them apart for mathematical precision. It ends slice and dice redistricting and strengthens local accountability by ensuring representatives answer to real and recognized communities. This bill is about reaffirming that representation in Wyoming should be rooted in our constitutional design in our communities. I respectfully ask for your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Senator. How did you want to handle going through the bill?
I think I will turn that over to Apollo.
Let's go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Paulo Pizzell. I'm here with Legislative Leadership Committee and a simple majority. We've been working with Senator McEwen for some time on this bill, looking for opportunities for us to be able to return back to the apportionment standards that were set out in the Wyoming Constitution, and we believe that we found this. In the first portion of the bill, sections 1 through, guys. I don't have this out until page 7. This is all new information, new law. Thank you very much. That allows for us to be able to draw the counties according to those county apportionment lines, according to the county lines. The following is the conforming language to allow us to be able to hold the districts down for under the apportionment formula under the standard deviation that was allowed in the courts. The last portion, which is 22-5-215, is the nomination of party candidates, which allows the parties to be able to take control over their party nominating process and educate the public so that they know the new process by which we're nominating our candidates by the county lines. And the rest of it is just conforming language to make sure that that the Title 22 is in line with the new statute.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pizell. Any questions for either of the gentlemen? Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I voted for this bill on introduction. I'm pretty iffy on it. Now, so how do you see this working out for voters? Because it seems like the party process is something that's not that well understood,
Mhm.
and that there's a possibility of disenfranchising a lot of voters that are used to voting in a primary election, where as the party now is selecting the candidate that would be on the ballot. So can you address that concern?
I can.
Mr. Pizell.
Senator Steinmetz, or Chairman Case. Yes, so this, if you look at the bill file, it actually gives the parties the choice on how they will nominate their candidates. One of the suggested amendments that we're thinking that should be made is that the party it should be bound by a primary. So it should still be a primary for the election process. So the first step of the primary would still be, you would go into your closed party booths, Republicans only voting for Republicans, Democrats only voting for Democrats, and you would still vote for your representative as you chose, which would fulfill your need to be able to make sure that the people were represented in their primary for their party. This actually is a party strengthening device. If you turn to page, I apologize. I can tell you, I don't know the page, but I can tell you that what this does is allows political party central committees to choose the way in which they nominate their candidates. But then the parties will never be able to just set a slate however they want. It will have to come from the public. But an amendment that I would suggest is making it so it is just primaries.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Senator Dockstader.
Mr. Chairman, Paulo, could you further explain how the central committees will choose the candidates that you just said?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Pizell.
Senator Dockstader, Senator Case. So that's the question that Senator Steinmetz was asking. They can choose either caucus convention primary system. But as I said, the amendment that we would like to choose is just to stay with the primary system, a familiar system.
Go ahead, Senator.
Mr. Chairman, Apollo.
Mhm.
By allowing the central committee to choose, doesn't that circumvent the public's choice?
Senator
Pizell.
Dockstader, Chairman Case. The party can choose at the beginning of the year which process they wish to choose, and then the public will decide. The committee does not get to choose which candidates are on the list. They have no say in which candidates are placed on the ballot. The candidates file in the same process that they did before, and then the party chooses whether they nominate by a caucus convention primary, as the bill stands right now. So it's the same process. It's just that the bill allows for the central committee to choose between a primary or a caucus system.
Anybody else? Senator Landon.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just really spurring the horse hard to catch up on this one, to be real honest. So I want to go to page 15 and 16. I'm really interested in the thought process and what the conversation was surrounding these districts. I'm fascinated by District 7, for example, Sheridan County, Johnson County, and then up over the top of the Bighorn Mountains into Bighorn County, Washakie County, Hot Springs County. That seems kind of incongruous to what you were indicating, which is to try to put districts together of similar interest. And there are 2 or 3 other districts on here that raised an eyebrow as well. So I guess I'd like a little bit of conversation about why the suggestion districts drawn the way they are in this bill.
Mr. Pizell.
Senator Landon, Chairman Case. Yes, so these are just a model. So the way that this is the way that it works easiest under deviation. Okay, so these can be changed. There's about 4 different maps that we explored with different combinations. So this would be up to you guys. So the process would then fall back to the legislature to determine those. This is a model basically in the bill. So these can, as long as it stays within deviation, you can mix and match these counties to ensure that they stay within the deviation. So instead of having to draw the lines where you're using the software system to try to find out which community, where you're going to draw the line in the middle of a city, rather you're just trying to find which counties combine to be able to stay under deviation. I spoke to somebody in the audience who I believe will be testifying on District 7, on the possibility that it can be divided to just Sheridan and Johnson County in one section, and then the remaining counties in District 7 in another. And it looks like the deviation would be able to match that as well. So this is just a model. The legislature would have full say in what the ultimate outcome would be on that.
Go ahead.
Just a quick follow-up. And then, of course, you know, a couple of your bigger districts, you're taking representation away from, you know, a couple of the population centers. That's an ongoing difficulty that we have faced in all my years in the legislature. So I'm just curious about that piece.
Mhm.
That seems a little unfair to those population districts as well. So.
Mr. Brazil.
Senator Landon, Chairman Case, it actually does not. So all districts will be assigned proportional to population. So it must stay within the Supreme Court's deviation standard. So the population, so for instance, Laramie County will still actually gains one more vote with 11 representatives. Natrona County stays the same with 10. But no, population centers do not lose their representation.
And when you said Supreme Court, you meant the U.S.
The United States Supreme Court.
Yeah, just so we get things right this morning, this indicates that Natrona County would actually lose a representative and go to 9.
9, I
That
apologize.
creates quite a bit of interest up in my neck of the woods, as you can imagine. So
I understand. Thank you
Appreciate
very much,
that.
sir.
You guys are kind of overrepresented now, don't you?
yeah,
Uh,
but there is not a height requirement. That's really good for me.
Well, this puts one in. Senator Boner.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll say this, at least Weston County remains whole in this plan.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think that, sorry, that's an old joke, but yeah, it's kind of an
It's
interesting.
into Weston County.
What we have, I'll have, sheriffs. But it's an interesting dynamic in rural Wyoming as well, you know, similar to what I think my colleague brought up with, you know, you could potentially have the Bighorn Basin basically lose all the representation, have all the representatives be from Sheridan County.
Mhm.
I'm looking at, say, you know, we got Converse, Platte, and Goshen County. Being from Converse County, I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's great. But wait, what happens when, you know, we get thrown in with Campbell County, right? Then we have exactly probably 0 representatives. So I mean, key acknowledge to the tension you're setting up within some of these rural counties too.
Who would like to take that? Mr. Brazil?
Senator Boner, Senator Case, absolutely. And this is why it's very important that as we came here, it's important that the legislature have a say in what this is. You are the folks that know your communities and which counties go to best together. This formula was to show you guys that it's possible. So as I spoke to you separately, one-on-one, I let you know that this was a work in progress. We're trying to take a look at the formula. This is the biggest piece here is the formula. And these can be changed to be able to fit exactly what you're saying, to try to ease those tensions and to make sure that geographic boundaries fit the population that they represent.
And you would get
Senator.
excellent representation out of Campbell County.
Well noted. So as I look at the big picture of this bill, one thing it does is it gives a lot of power to the parties, but you've indicated that, you know, there is an amendment to make it more like it is now,
Yes.
not to go to a caucus system necessarily. That's one aspect of this bill. And I think having that in there kind of clutters it up a bit.
Mhm.
But the aspect that I'm most interested in is talking about multi-member districts and the advantages of multi-member districts in terms of representation and having more diversity in representation. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is I do remember back when Fremont County, for example, had 5 representatives. At that time, there was Native American representation, Democratic representation, and more female representation. And really, most of that has gone away. There's no, of course, Ivan Posey's doing a great job being a representative of that district, but that's switched back and forth all the time. So I would appreciate commenting on really kind of the diversity of possibilities with multi-member districts.
Senator Case. Thank you. Yes, the multi-member districts, in the nineties, when multi-members districts went away, we did see a precipitous decline in female candidates getting elected. Rural voices actually were diminished as well, and minority voices. Those are the three major groupings that you saw decrease. With multi-member districts, rural voices are strengthened, minority voices are strengthened, female voices are strengthened. There would be an amount of party strengthening, but it would be offset by the fact that due to the proportional nature of the bill, there's more cooperation among party members. So for instance, if you are in the same delegation from a county, say, if you're from the Natrona County delegation, this system creates more of an incentive to work with your fellow party members. It creates less partisanship and more cooperation. It tends to, in the models that we've seen in other places, it tends to make parties more ideologically consistent with their platforms, and makes representation more accurately reflect the public at large. So what that in practice means is parties that are more predictable, more minority women representation, and more rural and louder rural voices.
So, and Mr. Pazell, just following along this line a little bit, it seems to me that one aspect is that right now we have contests where one person is pitted against another person essentially, or it's a winner take all situation. There may be multiple in the primary, but and in that sort of circumstance, it's like it leads to kind of a win at all costs kind of approach. Whereas if the old way to do it was to, say you had 10 candidates, but you pick 5 of the 10. And it's sort of like a lot of other races that we have for school board or city council or things like that. And that tends to not make it quite so personal and perhaps more focused on the bigger picture of the issues and on and on. Would you agree with that? Or is that kind of the thinking here?
Chairman Case, that's exactly our thinking. So our goal here is to try to make politics friendlier and work better together. That is the goal. Coalition, many of you know me more personally. My personal goal is to try to make politics more civil and for more ideas to have a fairer shot. I want conservative voices to have a shot. I want progressive voices to have a shot. And I want them to rise and fall based off of the population of the state and what they need. And I believe that this is what this does. This does create cooperation. By the time you've left your primary, you're working on a team. You're no longer one man on your own. You're working with your delegation team to maximize your general election turnout. This will bring you closer to your representatives, closer to one another, and allow them to work together to try to get the shared interests of their communities passed from their legislation. It is innovative. It's a big change. It's, as I've talked to all of you, it's something that deserves a lot of discussion. But the ultimate goal is exactly what you're stating. We're trying to make things more civil, more cooperative, and more productive.
And just one final question on the math.
Mm-hmm.
The reason the math works is right now we have the constraints that we have to have each single district meet our population goals. That's the way we've approached redistricting since we went to single member districts. There's kind of a mathematical principle that if you release a constraint, you can actually get a better optimum. And so what this allows is the constraint not to be within one single district, but the constraint could be within multiple districts. So whether it's 2 districts combined together, that gives you some flexibility, 3 districts, 4 districts, on and on. We could do the whole state. That might be a little too flexible, but anyway, I think that's the mathematical principle that means that this can be done and at the same time achieve the plus or minus deviation as directed by the courts. Now, we always thought about that as being plus or minus 5%. We actually exceeded deviation a little bit last time with respect to our new efforts up in Sheridan County. But the courts have given blessing to 11%, 12%. They don't seem to make the standard of plus or minus 6 or plus or minus 5.5. Is that accurate as well? Thank you.
Chairman Case, yes, that is. The state with the highest deviation is Hawaii for geographic obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Hawaii has the highest deviation. But the courts tend to allow for higher deviations for specific circumstances, such as the District 7 situation. If we were to try to split up that Johnson, Sheridan County with those small rural counties, they would likely be able to make, that would be a justifiable change. But yes, so this plan, again, the formula in this plan is to show that there can be a whole county system that stays within the deviation. Actually, this system is one that was suggested as an option by this U.S. Supreme Court if the state wanted to maintain multi-member districts in whole county legislation. So this was actually one of the suggestions that was given by the Supreme Court in order to maintain that multi-member district.
Perfect. Senator McEwen.
I also think what it does, right now, we draw lines and slice and dice, as I said earlier, just to get a number. This kind of organizes things to where communities and counties are actually being represented by communities and counties. There's 3 lines through Gillette right now. Part of it's rural, part of it's not. It's a combination. So is this a perfect answer? Probably not. But I think it gets us a lot closer to quality representation. It gets us closer to the people, gets us closer to the party. So Vice, you need 9,000. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. And committee and everybody, the reason Hawaii has a little bit more leeway is that their districts are literally islands, island boundaries, and you would be on one island and you're represented on another, so that it does have higher deviation. Anything else you want to add? And then we'll open up the public. Senator Dockstader.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I appreciate my colleague in the Senate explaining it does get us closer to the people. I'm going to come back to Apollo, where you still say everything has to be vetted through the Central Committee if they want to run for office. Is that a correct summary, Apollo, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Pizell.
Senator Dockstader, Chairman Case, no, that is not correct. So at the beginning of an election cycle, as it currently is stated, which I don't like the language as it currently stated, I want an amendment. As it is currently stated, at the beginning of an election cycle, the county party committee can determine the way in which they nominate their candidates. So they can choose which system they will nominate. So they can choose a caucus convention, primary or primary system. The suggested change that I would like is that it's just a primary system. I think that there's no need to give that flex. I think that it's a smoother transition just to keep it as a primary, personally.
Right now, the bill does too much, perhaps.
Yes.
And so it mixes up the primary system with the multi-member districts.
And so yes.
I think ultimately we're pushing back towards the primary system with it.
Yeah.
Just kind of reapportionment, drawing different lines with a different mentality other than, like I said, X amount of people.
I think that there was an effort with this bill to try to give to try to stay out of the political pieces and just show the formula. And I think in an effort to do that, they may have backed a little bit too far off and gave too much of an opening for that. So I think that can be tightened up very easily.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman.
Go ahead.
Address the chair as well. Thank you.
Well, let's take other comment on this. Who would like to testify on this bill? Public Service Commission, you weighing in on this one? Just check it. Just check it. Mr. Rubino, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you too. Joe Rubino, I'm the Policy Director and Counsel for the Secretary of State's office. Wanted to speak a little bit to the bill as it's currently drafted, although from that testimony, it sounds like potentially these amendments that are contemplated would change that. But I haven't read those amendments. So I just want to speak to the bill as it's currently written, if that's all right, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So in our office's review of the bill, I think there's a couple of places that this will obviously touch our office in terms of system changes for implementation. One is candidate filing as it currently stands now. I don't believe that it's an issue to implement in our system. assigning different districts to different candidates. Although the way the bill currently reads, and I do want to flag it, it does increase the House of Representatives from a 62-person body to a 63-person body. But the other way that it would touch our office is campaign finance filings through our online campaign finance filing system, YCFIS. Specifically those that pertain to districts we're in an election cycle right now. So everyone who has an existing candidate campaign committee or a political action committee knows you just completed your odd year reporting, which is due December 31st. That's a requirement for all candidate campaign committees. Those are currently assigned in our system logic to districts.
Sure.
And so it would require changes for that. The big thing that I want to speak to in terms of implementation that is glaring right now, although it sounds like the bill draft may move off of this, is the deadline for which political parties may choose whether they want to nominate their representatives by caucus, convention, or primary election. Current deadline in the bill is on page 3, line 19. It specifies that a state central committee has until June 1st in every even numbered year to certify the method of nominating candidates for representatives. But this would be under existing statute after candidate filing for a primary election. So candidate filing is between a 2-week window, between 96 and 81 days prior to a primary election. It's typically the last 2 weeks in May. And so the concrete change that would make that implementable so that there's no candidate filing for a primary election and then after candidates are filed, potentially or during that window, a political party choosing a caucus or convention system, moving that deadline would have to be moved up to April, May at least. Another statute I want to call out is an amendment to 22-2-108, in which our office touches, and I know the county clerks are here and I think they're speaking to this bill too, but at least from our office's perspective, this specifies when our office certifies which offices are up for election. So we would specify which offices are up for election. Well, that would presuppose that they're up for election, notwithstanding that a state party central committee may then go around and say, oh, no, they're not, under the existing deadline. So that deadline is between the 24th day of April and the 3rd day of May, in which our office certifies those offices up for election. I think the statute, when I was reviewing it with some of our team members, we thought, oh, well, maybe that's not touching the primary, but I think that there's a stronger argument that it also does touch a primary election too. So I think that that conflict would exist with the bill. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to speak to those two things. Suggesting an amendment, but it sounds like the bill might be moving in a completely different direction. That was sort of the meat of the bill that I wanted to speak to.
And so, Mr. Rubino, both those concerns were about the situation where we have nomination by party.
Correct.
Yeah, and so if we continue with a primary system, probably the dates wouldn't change, but there'd be other things you'd have to change, but it wouldn't be quite as complicated.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. Yeah, the assigning different districts in both our candidate filing module and also our campaign finance would still exist. But yeah, the big glaring thing that I wanted to point out today in terms of implementation is the conflict with the dates. So.
Gotcha. Thank you. Senator Landon.
So, Mr. Rubino, thank you. Just generally speaking, can this bill be stood up by the primary election in 26?
Mr. Rubino.
Well, Mr. Chairman, in its current draft, we are obviously striving to do that. We're working with our technology division, been meeting with them on how do we get to that point and making those changes. I think the big thing would be migrating The big thing in our mind from a system perspective is the fact that we're in a current election cycle right now. So the odd year reporting actually pertains to your 2026
Right.
election reporting. That's the way that it is in statute, and that's the way that it's set up in our logic. So that would be the most difficult piece of implementation, is getting these migrated off and then also adding one new district, but changing these candidate committees when they exist, because they've already filed a corresponding odd year election report that pertains to the 2026 primary election.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah, and that may be a definite consideration, you know. Yep. Plus, there's no doubt that this thing would require a lot more thought than to just throw it out there, perhaps in this session, and say, we're gonna live by this starting this year. That's a big lift, but. But anything else on the bill, Mr. Rubino? Anybody, anything from our fellow committee members?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Dockstader?
Mr. Rubino, the office you represent, where do they stand on this concept of running the process through the central committee?
Mr. Rubino?
Mr. Chairman, today I'm just here to speak to the implementation. That's my focus. I think that's a policy question for you all. We're just focused on how we would implement this bill, but it sounds like that question may be moot. I don't know. I haven't seen this amendment. I haven't read it. I don't know if it's been provided to you all, but it sounds like that's not moving in that direction. So that, yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Who else would like to address the committee on this bill? Who else? Let's fill out the chairs. We do have our clerks, of course. Ms. Langford, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Mary Langford. I have the honor of representing the county clerks of the state of Wyoming. This is really interesting. This is very interesting. The clerks have had a little bit of time to review this and think about it. And some of the concerns are same topics that we'd like just to bring to you to consider. If you decide that you'd like to move forward with this. I concur with Mr. Rubino's comments about the deadlines. They need to be changed to be able to accommodate filing and finance and those types of things. One of the things that we did note also, though, is with this method, split ballots are going to go away probably.
Yeah.
So there will be a cost savings because that is a considerable cost in our current system of what we spend doing all these split ballots that we have to accommodate the legislative seats. So there would be cost savings that we saw right off the bat with that. Administering, I believe we pretty well could administer this type of an election. Wouldn't be much change in mechanically with what we would have to do as far as rolling an election out in our counties. But we have a couple of suggestions. On page 4, line 20, it says there for major political parties, we'd suggest all political parties because there are major and provisional and minor and all those guys. So we would suggest that. We would also suggest too that if there is an appetite to go forward with this, that it go to an interim study. And that interim study should be in 2017 or 2027. Sorry, 17 is a long time ago. Not this coming summer, but the next summer, to be enacted in 28. So we could kick the tires before 30 and 32. And, see practice, have an opportunity to do some practice, but with the upcoming interim, it's going to be really busy, especially in the clerk world, getting ready for election this year. But the next interim time, we would suggest that. And I think I have to say, there's a number of us that have sat here 4 times during redistricting. It's not getting any easier.
No.
And we're not getting any better at it either, I don't think. So looking at different options and better ways for the public to get represented and to be able to participate and feel that you're getting the representation that you need, I think we need to look at. That's personal feeling. And with that, Mr. Chairman, thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the opportunity from the bringers to be able to look at this. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Langford.
You're welcome.
Questions for the clerks through Ms. Langford? Any questions?
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Simmons, welcome.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Senate Corporations Committee. I am Gail Simmons with Civics 307. We are a nonpartisan nonprofit supporting voter education, engagement, and participation. I am on and for this bill. Senate 114 moves Wyoming House elections to county-based, multi-member districts. The aim is simple. Election outcomes should reflect the makeup of the electorate within each district while keeping counties as the building blocks of representation, very much similar to county commissioners. Multi-member districts offer practical benefits to voters. When a district elects several representatives, more voters end up with at least one representative who aligns with their priorities. Constituents also gain more than one representative to contact, which matters in a large state where issues vary across counties, towns, ranch country, and smaller communities. This approach also reduces the need to carve counties into many small pieces to reach a seat county target. Counties stay intact, and representation follows the district as a whole. Nothing personal here, but our Board of County Commissioners are more collaborative than the legislature is. And I think for these very same reasons. SF 114 also gives voters a clear two-step process that starts in the primary. In the primary election, voters choose among candidates within their party. The top vote recipients, equal to the number of seats in that district, become the party's slate for the general election. The slate order follows the primary vote totals. In the general election, voters select a party slate. This was the one thing that gave me pause. However, the district seats get divided among party slates based on their share of the general election vote in that district. Each party then fills its assigned seats using the slate order set by primary voters. This design keeps voter choice inside the party in the primary, then lets the general election determine how many seats each party earns in the district. For example, if this ends up with Sheridan and Johnson County having 4 altogether, and the split in the general is 70% Republican and 30% Democrat, that means that 3 of the reps would be Republican and 1 would be Democrat. So it follows more closely the decisions in the strategic voting that occurs in the general. So 3 amendments would strengthen 114 and reduce avoidable risk. First, major parties required to hold the primary as it is currently, and minor parties allowed by caucus. So that actually gives the minor parties some more structure than they currently have without changing that part of the Title 22 around definition of major parties. Second, move the effective date to January 1st, 2028, and align related deadlines to the 2028 election cycle. This bill changes district structure, ballot design, counting steps, party processes, and voter education. A 2028 start gives county clerks time for procedures, training, programming, and testing. A 2028 start also gives voters time to learn a new ballot and understand what their vote means. Third, on the districts, it was easy for me to look at District 7. It combines Sheridan, Johnson, Bighorn, Washakie, and Hot Springs counties. The Bighorn Mountains create a real geographic barrier, and the counties on each side reflect significant differences in community ties and daily life. Representation works best when districts follow geography and shared community. So my recommendation in this specific case is split District 7 into 2 districts aligned along the mountain range. Create a district of Bighorn, Washakie, and Hot Springs with 3 representatives, and create a district of Sheridan County and Johnson County with 4. This keeps the total at 7 and improves access and community alignment. SF 114 supports county-based representation and outcomes that better match the electorate. With a January 1, 2028 effective date and district adjustments along county lines, the bill becomes stronger and more workable. I also would like to point out the ability to do strategic voting, which occurs in our county commissioners. So in Sheridan, for example, we usually have 3 of the 5 that are up. So I can decide if I really like one and don't care about the other 2, I can vote for just one and let the other 2 be. So, and I can do the same in the general if I feel like, well, we need to represent all, and maybe I switch to Democrat thinking if there's enough there, there will be one. So strategic voting becomes more important, but we already do that in the counties. So I stand for any questions.
You bet. I think probably you elect 3 commissioners in 1 year and 2 in.
That's correct.
Not 3 and 3. Although you might have commissioners with just 2-year terms. Think about that. Any questions for Ms. Simmons? Questions for Ms. Simmons? Thank you very much. Very thoughtful. Ms. Herman, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Committee. Marguerite Herman for the League of Women Voters. And I explained this bill. I had an online committee meeting last night for my league members, and they were intrigued with the purpose of it, the intent. As you know, the gold standard for us is 1 person, 1 vote proportional representation, which this does seem to address. And the other thing that has been what we have realized over time is the benefit, as the chairman pointed out, of multi-member districts. More the diversity of the people who got elected, and we're talking about to the legislature. That again, it seems to be achieved here. But one thing we do have, well, as you heard today from many people, this is great, except for this, except we need to fix this. And so I guess what our feeling is that, you know, again, recognizing the remedies that are contained in the bill is to take it to an interim study so that you can take a deeper dive. It's a complex bill. I know a lawyer who read it and still couldn't figure it out, the bill. So I'm thinking that an interim would allow you to address these details, preserve the good parts, work out the details and the deadlines and that sort of thing, and then introduce the public to it. That would give an opportunity for people to get used to it before you actually took a vote to approve a final product. So that's where we stand on it. It seems to achieve some good things. There are issues of which you've heard plenty today. I'm sure there are more that will come up that could be addressed during an interim. And then I think that would serve the public well to have it discussed in that way.
Thank you, Ms. Herman. Questions for Ms. Herman? Thank you very much. Who else would like to address the committee? Let's fill out these chairs, please. We're got 2 more bills to do today. Got 3 chairs. Anybody else out there plan to testify? Got room in the middle, sir, for the out-of-state talent. All right, Ms. Russell, do you want to start us off?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Kathy Russell, Executive Director of the Wyoming Republican Party. I'm going to keep this just really short. Title 22 has a lot of issues that a number of bills have been attempting to address and fix. And so I'm not going to speak necessarily to the aspects of this bill, but provide to you the overall feeling of the Central Committee and the county stance right now. And key for those folks is representation. We are a representative republic. Counties are autonomous by law, by policy, by regulation, by boundaries that are recognized in all sorts of ways. When we go into a multi-member aspect where you have splits between counties or even splits within the county, that blurs that representative aspect. The place where we have democratic votes is at the very local level, on the city level, going up a little bit on the county level. And then from there, you need someone who is dedicated to those aspects that the counties and the county and the cities within it are interested in.
So
So-
can I ask a question here just right now? And I don't mean to, you said democratic votes and you just meant democratic like democracy, right?
Correct.
You didn't mean
Correct.
democratic because I think
Correct.
you didn't mention it, but you represent the Republican Party, is that right?
Yes, sir.
As the executive, you have a official position. You didn't say that in your introduction. I don't believe.
I believe I did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
I believe I did.
Apologize.
I'm sorry, I meant democratic with a small d.
Gotcha.
The democracy aspect of our constitutional system exists at the
Understand.
local
Thank you.
level. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
That pretty much sums up the feeling. When the members look at their representation, it's very frustrating to them that they don't have one person they can go to on an issue. And so I would say the representative republic aspect,
Mhm.
where you have representation of those people who are voting in the democratic small d
Uh-huh.
aspect locally, is very important to them. And they want equal representation at the state because we have 23 counties who are supposed to have 23 equal access to the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Russell? Any question, Ms. Russell? Ms. Russell, I'd probably push back on you that counties have a sense of entitlement of representation akin to the way the states do in the U.S. Senate. I think that's never, ever been substantiated by court. And so the counties are creatures of the state. Another way we could do redistricting is to change county boundaries and make counties and make more counties. We could make counties equal a district, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. But counties, in the sense, they're not sovereign. They're not part of a federalist system within the state. They are just organizational boundaries. We love them. We want to respect them, and we're trying to do that with this bill. But they don't have an entitlement to representation in a proportional sense that one county's representation should be the same as another. There's no court that's upheld that. And you're welcome to comment on that.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I don't believe on the whole that our nation was established to be equal across the board, that the numbers have to be equal to be valid. Otherwise, Wyoming would have no voice in the national debates. So although that test may not have been done in court, it's certainly recognized that way. And it is the expectation of the people living in those counties that they will have an equal voice, whether they're larger in number in the county or smaller. I believe that's the feeling.
Fair enough. I just point out that the U.S. Constitution does allow for each state to have 2 U.S. senators. And that is really, it's the great compromise that brought the northeastern states and the southern states together in one form of government that allowed them to break the logjam in the Constitutional Convention by saying each state will have 2 senators, no matter what the population of the state is. But the representation in the House of Representatives will be based upon population, with each state having a minimum of 1. And so that is absolutely in our U.S. Constitution. It's the foundational part, but that doesn't extend necessarily to counties. That would be my argument. You're welcome to comment.
Mr. Chairman, the way the law stands right now, the allocation of representatives is by population. And so unless that law changes, that is the recognized piece.
Agree with you.
And so representation is by county lines or the district lines at this point. And so, yes, the senatorial positions are set, but even there we have broken that system here by having 31.
Yeah, and Ms. Russell, I just said the state Senate doesn't have anything to do with the national Senate. It did at one time. We thought it was the same, but that was thrown out by the courts. So the state Senate is proportional as well as the state house. I'm just saying that we can't do things in the state the way we do things at the national level. We can't pretend like counties are mini states for their representation. Thank you. Go ahead. You're welcome to comment.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
You bet.
the House is the house of debate. It's the house of the people. And so we have the representation based on population. The Senate is to represent a unit, whether that unit is a district or a county. And at this point, the overwhelming piece is the county.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Guess I
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I guess I disagree with you. Any other questions for Ms. Russell? Thank you. Mr. Moline, I believe you were next.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brett Moline, Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation. My members' policy that I go by is that we would rather have this on a county representation on a county basis with an apportionment vote based on population. That way each county does have a specific senator and representative. On this bill, it's already been mentioned about the difficulty of going up and over the Bighorn Mountains, but I also have to point out with Park County and Teton County being in one district, that might be a tad difficult to represent both districts. They're so diverse. Just getting back and forth raises a logistical nightmare. And I'm kind of relying a little bit on memory, which is not always accurate, I found out. But when we extended from 60 to 62 in the Wyoming House of Representatives, we had room to put the desk. And I think I heard it mentioned, that's all the more we can go without doing some major revamping. So adding one more desk might just be difficult. Let me put it that way, sir, but on and against the bill. And I do a little bit of concerns that this only represents, what we would do to the House. I think if we're going to look at it, we need to look at the House and the Senate together. With Mr. Chairman, with that, I would take any questions you or the committee may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moline. Questions for Mr. Moline? Question? If I recall, I think at one time there was a legislature of 64. At that time, they didn't have the same desk. I remember the old desks, but I think the House desks are smaller than the Senate desks. We could probably cut off a couple inches off of each one. And thank you, Mr. Moline.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Bring in some TV trays.
Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Thank
Welcome to
you.
Wyoming.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, it's good to be back with you. My name's Andy Craig. I'm a senior fellow with the Legislative Leadership Campaign Committee, also a policy fellow at the Joseph H. Rainey Center. And most relevant for this, I wrote a research paper that I would commend to all you on counties and representation in the Wyoming legislature. And that is dealing exactly with this issue of, going back to the court ruling in the 90s. This was specifically suggested by the court as a compliant option.
Are you referring to the Wyoming court ruling?
The federal district court ruling.
Okay.
That struck down after the 1990 cycle, the old system.
Okay.
And so that was considered, and the legislature had a lot of inclination to that. Governor Sullivan at the time insisted on single member districts, and that's how you ended up with the current system and all the problems that have been mentioned about the difficulty of the redistricting process of single member districts and slicing and dicing counties and all of that. I do want to address some of the concerns that have been raised about the particular districts and which counties are in which district in this draft. There is flexibility on this. I've run the numbers. We can present to you several options for maps, including having the Bighorn Basin be its own district. There are some other options of moving this county from that one to the other. In general, the goal is that when you have to include more than one county, that you would try to group together counties that are similar in population, that are geographically coherent, to the maximum degree possible, avoiding that problem of one county dominating a multi-county district. So that's on that, and I would be happy to share with the committee all the different options that are within the population deviation standards. It would be a much simpler process because you would have that menu of 4, 5, 6 options instead of having to do the software-based parceling out census blocks and all that. That's so much more complicated. I will mention, as was discussed, the benefits of multi-member districts historically. There was a study by, I mean, this is just the numbers, from Professor King at the University of Wyoming about how the switch from multi-member to single-member districts was very, very bad for representation of women and how many female candidates were elected to the House. I mean, the numbers actually have still not recovered all these years, almost 30 years later, more than 30 years later. So that's, I think, one big potential benefit. And as was discussed, there's definitely, I thank the Secretary of State's office for raising the deadline issue. That's certainly something to be fixed. Just move that deadline up if we were to retain that, but it sounds like it's going to be moot. And I don't have any issues with it seems to be general consensus to keep the nomination method by primary and simply cut out this part of having the party choose a caucus system. That would be fine. That would be simple. The primary would work the same as your existing multi-member races, like for county commissioner. So in those primaries, you would go in and say if there's 3 seats to be filled, you would vote for up to 3 candidates. And then the top vote getters would be on the list for the general election. And I certainly agree with the sentiment that's been raised that sending this to interim to iron out these details, to make the exact decision you want to make about with the district lines and to amend the nomination method and some of the technical deadline issues. That makes a lot of sense to me. And also I agree implementing it for 26 would be a stretch for the county clerks and the Secretary of State's office. And then the one last thing I would mention is that when you're making this switch, as was raised about the number of seats, so that gives you more options. As you mentioned, the size of the House has fluctuated slightly. You have constitutionally that option within range. So you can do 60 seats, you can do 62, you can do 63. We have confirmed, as you mentioned, that it used to be 64. So you can't fit many more desks in there. But we have confirmed it's logistically, physically possible without having to completely renovate the House chamber or anything. You could fit a couple more desks in there.
So what people may not remember is that the House chamber is actually bigger than it was when I started, because there were rooms behind the dais. The dais was actually even with the front wall.
Yes.
So that's a long time. Go
So
ahead,
that-
Mr. Craig. I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Places to tie up their horse outside too.
I had a very good horse. Anything else?
No, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Questions for Mr. Craig? Any questions? Senator Doc
Mr.
Stater.
Chairman, just a quick note. What is the name of your research paper?
Counties in representation in the Wyoming legislature,
Thank you.
and that is at the Rainey Center. So I can drop you an email with that link if you like.
That'd be great. Maybe we could add it to our committee materials if that's all right. Anybody else? Mr. Craig, it's a delight to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am. Welcome.
Hi, Sue Morales, Weston County.
Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. I just want to thank you for considering this bill, and I want to thank the bringer of this bill. This is a issue that is near and dear to the hearts of Weston County. I admit my unpreparedness because I just was made aware of this bill last night, so I haven't looked at it very closely. One thing I would like to see is that being chosen through the primaries rather than through committees is my first impression. And I just want to say that this is an issue that does need to continue to be looked at, because it will continue to arise every 10 years unless we make something that's firm and continuous. And I also wanted to point out that while counties are not like states, they are afforded representation by our Constitution. And our Constitution does say 1 senator and 1 representative per county, and it does mention county lines. And I know that that's an issue that we're talking about, but I just wanted to reiterate the importance of our Constitution and following it. If we don't follow our Constitution, why do we have a Constitution? So thank you for your time, and I stand for any questions that you might have for me.
And just to be clear, when you were reading from the Constitution or referencing the Constitution, you're talking about the Wyoming State Constitution.
I am, the Wyoming State Constitution. And while the Wyoming State Constitution does not say that every county, it does include that it will be by the number of the inhabitants, but it also says that every county will have one senator and one representative.
Thank you very much for
So,
that.
yeah.
Questions for Ms. Morelos? Any questions? We really appreciate you. Thank you. It's good to see you again. All right, anybody else like to address the committee? Anybody else? How about online?
Mr. Chairman, Jenny DeSaro has raised her hand.
Let's hear it. Hello, Ms. DeSaros. Welcome. Go ahead.
Good morning. Jenny DeSaro with Equality State Policy Center. We aim for fair elections and transparent government in Wyoming. This is a fascinating bill. Really kind of wish it would have surfaced during the interims for a deeper dive. I will be brief because there's been great testimony on this before, but I will say that one of the challenges over time is when Wyoming became a state, we had 5 counties, and this we've made smaller counties, and those lines have changed over time. So this reapportionment and balance between county lines and everything is so such a process that will continue to be as our population shifts. But like I said, this is fascinating. Do have concerns with the central committee part, and we also the immediate implementation, knowing that this election season has already begun. So perhaps what Ms. Simmons had suggested, that January 1st, 2028 might be good. But also having some more discussion during the interim could be interesting. I'm still looking at, I haven't had time to dive into the full background, but how this might impact independent candidates. We do know nationwide there is an increase of folks who are choosing to be unaffiliated. And so I'm just would like to I don't have any answers. I just want to bring that. I don't know what the impacts might be. And with that, I stand for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. DeSaro? You're off the hook. Thank you very much. Good to see you today. Anybody else online? I think, committee, we've heard the testimony. What is your pleasure? And before I say that, I think no matter what we do with the bill, if we gave it a motion and then tabled it at a future time in our discussion here, that would be an appropriate way to go forward. Appropriate way would be to work the bill and put something out to the floor that you want to work and believe in. But it's up to you. But I think to even discuss it, we kind of need a motion, and it may not be a permanent motion, so to speak. Could I get a motion on the bill?
I'll move the bill.
Got a motion by Landon. Discussion. Senator Landon?
Mr. Chairman, I'll start off, and I'm actually intrigued, and I do want to apologize. I got to thinking about numbers, and we split a district. My good friend and I did a couple of years ago, and so I do. The numbers in the bill do reflect Natrona County, so I want to apologize for that. I'm intrigued. My concern. I'm happy to hear that in the Secretary's office we might be okay to get this stood up, but I don't see how we can get this underway and stood up in 26, Mr. Chairman. So I would.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that.
You know, we could work the bill. We could, I think, maybe even improve it. But I don't see an avenue to get this through and set up in 26.
So I tend to agree with you on that. And I think areas of concern that I have are the timing. I also, kind of like everyone that testified, would probably say we should maintain strict adherence to a primary system. I think we all feel that's more Wyoming. But on the other hand, this is extraordinarily, there's some stuff here to talk about. I'm intrigued by the you know, we have to have interim topics in by Friday, but there was a suggestion made that this actually, by the clerks, I believe Ms. Langford made it, that we don't do it this interim, we do it the next interim. I'll tell you what usually happens is that, if you say you're going to do it next interim, you never get back to it, you know. Maybe we could ask for a two-part interim to not try to finish it up in 1 year. That's so we can at least touch on it, begin to look at it, not put the clerks through a lot of work and then carry it over. I'm worried that if we just say, no, we'll take it up next year, who knows what's going to happen next year? We may not even all be here, some of us. So anyway, that's some thoughts. We have lots of things on our plate, and I would hope that the committee would not try to fix this bill at this moment. And maybe we could just put it on the table for further consideration. And is that agreeable to the sponsor? What would you like us to do? Really appreciate you bringing this bill, by the way.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For me, this has been like drinking out of a fire hose. I'm certainly outside my comfort area. I'm pretty good at revenue and taxes, but not this. It does have some issues. And one of the amendments we were going to bring to it anyway was more focus on the primary system, less on the committees. So I think it'd be a good idea to table it and go over it in the interim, because I think we need to get it right. And I'm not sure we're there yet.
All right. Thank you, Senator. Very much appreciate it. Senator Landon.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I know we need to move on. I think we're leaning toward, your good suggestion. But I do recognize I was chairman of the conference committee that dealt with the last reapportionment, and it was a tortured experience. It really was. And we ended up, I actually gave up a lot of my district because of that last redraw. And I'm lucky to have a good senator beside me here who took over the little community of Evansville, especially because that's where our Veterans Cemetery is for the state of Wyoming. Really special place. So I don't represent that anymore. I think about Sublette County and the fact that Sublette County doesn't have any representation. So we do have issues, and I think it's a good idea for us to start this interim to begin to get arms around all of what this bill could do in 27. So.
Okay, well, I think a motion to table would be appropriate at this time. If somebody would like to make it,
Mr. Chairman, before we do that.
go
Your
ahead.
concept, your thought, or proposal, that we divide this up a little bit. My concern is if we put it out 2 years, doesn't allow a full vetting process with the public.
Yeah, and thank you, Senator Dockstader. I'm just worried if we say, well, this is a really great idea, but we're going to do it next year. You know how that works out. So I'm hopeful that we could at least have maybe educational sessions on it this first year, and then propose to work it the next year. And that would relieve the burden on the clerks. Maybe we could all learn more about it and look at it. And maybe we could actually do some more modeling of the population in the districts and make that some kind of tool available for the public to use to work on that. That would be my thinking, Senator.
Do you need a movement?
I think we just need to table it, and then let's agree to bring it back in the interim, and we'll have to advocate for it.
I would move to table.
Hey, his mic wasn't on, but it was a motion to table by Landon. That's non-debatable, so kind of already debated it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? The bill is tabled, and our intention is to discuss it as one of our interim topics, perhaps making it a 2-year, first year leads the second. Senator Boner, you've got the next bill. Would you like to lead from out front, or however you prefer?
Oh, I think I'll step here if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
You bet.
We had a working group yesterday at noon.
And this is Senate File 102,
Yeah.
Wyoming Energy Transmission Study. Senator Boner, it's all yours.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So yeah, we did get a working group together, and ask Director Krieger to come on down and explain exactly what they did. Mr. Chairman, the committee has a lined out version of the bill. Basically, this is what they want the bill to look like, if that makes sense. So this is a product of their working group, and staff has that, and we'll just probably have Mr. Krieger go over that in detail. But suffice to say, I think the biggest changes include making sure that there's no bias towards assuming we're going to join an RTO or an ISO or a day-ahead market. So that's abundantly clear. Also, there's a requirement for a working group you'll see on page 5, including cooperatives, investor-owned utilities, any municipal electrical utilities, Public Service Commission, and the OCA. And so those are sort of the highlights of the changes, but I would leave it to Mr. Krieger to kind of summarizing the group's work there.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate all your work on this. Mr. Krieger, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Rob Krieger with the Energy Authority. I think just to summarize the overall discussion, so we had that at our shop yesterday. We had the utilities, the consumers, the OCA, the Public Service Commission, and I think everybody agreed, let's not overcomplicate this thing. Let's, as we talked about on Monday, we were kind of heading down this path anyway. And so anyways, we had the discussion. I'll go through sort of the amendments, if that's all right, or the ideas to change the bill to reflect that, but just kind of wanted to give that overarching theme as I think we're all marching the same direction. We didn't want us as the Energy Authority to be seen as doing this and then coming to you all with recommendations. As you know, this past interim working with you all on large load and third-party issues, there's frankly not a lot of consensus around some of that. So we agreed from both sides that let's just produce the study, have the facts out there, have the information, and you all can do with that as you wish. So, Mr. Chairman, if it's all right with you, I'll just walk through sort of the markups we thought.
Please do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The first one, Mr. Chairman, would be actually right on line 1. It was brought up, there's maybe saying act related to public utilities might limit like private transmission and those sort of things. So the idea was maybe just saying an act related to the Energy Authority to kind of open that up for us. Then moving forward to page 2, line 8, we thought maybe striking a power flow and just having the sentence read a model of Wyoming's transmission needs with an assessment of the 3 potential load growth scenarios.
Okay.
Moving on, Mr. Chairman, to page 3, line 12, we wanted to make sure, and this is very similar to the economic study I referenced Monday, working with Senator Dockstetter and Chairman Heiner. We put the phrase at a minimum in there quite frequently to make sure, one, we got all of the interest that you all had in the bill, but also gave us some of the flexibility should we see things we think we should evaluate as well when we go to RFP on these sort of deals. So on line 12, right after the word shall, the study shall at a minimum, we recommend putting, inserting at a minimum. And then the rest of that, the A, B, and C, we think we could go without.
So just by way of convention here, you're on page 3, line 12.
Yes, sir.
It's really hard to tell that says that the word a minimum is new language. It's going to be a challenge for our staff. You guys should maybe highlight those when you give her a copy.
I printed black and white. Maybe I should have done color, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I apologize for that.
No worries.
And our staff does have a soft copy of this, the attorney that's doing the amendment.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Just pointing that out. Go ahead, Mr. Krieger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, that would be new language at a minimum. And then after the word explore, and this would all be new language as well, would be a qualitative summary and narrative of Wyoming's public utilities participation, if any, in regional transmission organizations, independent system operators, and real-time and extended day-ahead markets. And then that would be the end of that sentence, and A, B, and C could all go away.
Okay.
Then moving on, Mr.
Committee, if there's questions, and as we move along, just bump me, okay? Keep going, Mr. Krieger.
Mr. Chairman, on page 4, we recommended on line 13 to strike after section. So would strike and any recommendations for legislation in response to the study. And then the same exact thing on line 18, after section, put a period, strike and any recommendation for legislation in response to the study.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Chairman, the final new language would be, I think the best place, and I'd look to you all and LSO for this, but would be to put before section 2, and that would be to insert the language around the working group that we would establish as we do this study. It would say, this would be new language. The Wyoming Energy Authority shall establish an advisory working group to provide the input on the methodology, assumptions, and findings of the study required under this section. The advisory working group shall, at a minimum, include representatives of the rural electric cooperative serving Wyoming, investor-owned utility, or investor-owned electric utilities serving Wyoming, municipal electric utilities serving Wyoming, the Wyoming Public Service Commission, and the Office of Consumer Advocate.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we have copies of this. We'd be happy to hand out, but that was kind of the consensus we came to yesterday. I know folks that were at that meeting are behind me right now, and they can correct anything that I just said, but I think that's where we kind of came to. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And then you have extra copies for the public. Should anybody want one? Does anybody need one now? Raise your hand and we'll get them to you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Krieger. You got off easy, Mr. Jenks. All right. Let's hear from stakeholders. Welcome to say me too, or whoever. Let's go with the Public Service Commission. Are they here today? Let me just look around. I think they're here in mass. Welcome. You guys are looking great. Chairman, Mr. Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Mike Robinson. I'm the chairman of the Wyoming Public Service Commission. To my right is John Burbridge, our chief counsel. In the audience are Deputy Chairman Petrie and Commissioner Boswell.
We got full house. Well, 3 of a kind in an 8.
First of all, I want to apologize for not being here on Monday. But I do want to say that we'd be happy to participate and support this effort, but with, a caveat that any study like this will have inherent limitations. Wyoming is not a transmission island. It is a part of a larger regional transmission network called the Western Interconnect.
Fair enough.
And, transmission planning is a complicated endeavor. And this is a rather ambitious project. Though transmission companies, including utilities that own transmission, they have advanced models. They have extremely experienced engineers and other experts. And so I think that a study like this could provide some useful information, but as a planning tool, it's going to have some limited usefulness.
Fair enough.
So with that, I'm available to just answer any questions the committee may have.
Committee, any questions for the commission? Anything? And Chairman, it also strikes me that you have different rule and obligation. So this study doesn't necessarily substitute for any process that you have in improving or developing and working towards the transmission issues that are on your plate with the utilities that you regulate. And so I see it as collaborative, but you're not bound by anything that other folks come up on. That has to come to you and be approved in an evidentiary process. So
yes.
I think I understand that very well. And I think that might be part of your thinking too.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Looks like we got off easy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We do appreciate you guys. And the Senate did restore your money. That was in the JAC one deal, so that's a good deal.
Still a long ways to go.
Still, don't go dancing, but Mr. Ornelas. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. Anthony Ornelas, Administrator for the Wyoming Office of Consumer Advocate. Not a lot to add. Appreciate being brought into the fold and would be happy to participate as part of the working member and provide guidance on this as it proceeds. It may have been my oversight, but one other admission that I'd like to point out would be on page 3, line 9, and it was to remove the recommendations for transmission solutions. I'm not sure if this was mentioned or not. I apologize if it was, but I would also like to add some color to this as to, our role as the advocate for the consumers. We were concerned that this type of language would precede the commission's authority and the evidentiary process if we were to direct specific solutions. So happy to participate. Think it will provide some good information on the background of where we've been, where we are currently at, maybe where we need to go. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Question for the consumer advocate? Thanks a lot for helping.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Taylor, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean Taylor, Wyoming Rural Electric Association. I just want to say I appreciate your all's understanding of my absence the past 2 days. I appreciate Senator Boner reaching out prior to. Luckily, we have a good deep bench with the co-ops, and some of my folks were able to participate, testify on Monday, participate in the working group, and we're good to go. I think we covered a lot of the ground that we had some issues with them. So we're on board.
Great. Senator Dockstader.
Mr. Chairman, Sean, everyone throughout your organization completely understands what we're doing here?
Every single one.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Senator.
I'm working on this one so we don't have pushback later.
Senator Dockstader, I think, yes. If they don't yet, they will soon.
Fair enough.
I'd also appreciate you refunding funding the PSC for their docket system. That thing's a mess.
Yeah. Well, we still have third reading of the budget where people could try to take that out, and we still have a long ways to go with our friends down the hall. So it's not, Senator Landon?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Taylor, thanks for being here. There's some information floating around on a potential amendment that would affect any sort of first right of refusal. I just got to thinking, having served with all of your guys a long time ago, over 100 years of build out and all I just wondered if that was a concern to you, if that language were to be inserted at some point.
Have you just admitted that you're over 100 years old? I think that's what just happened.
Yeah. By the way, it was your predecessor. It was his birthday yesterday. He would have been 93. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. I thought about you guys. I was just curious that there are those promoting that existing situations should not receive any sort of priority over whatever we come up with. Have you thought about that?
Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Landon, appreciate that. And I did talk to Mr. Lindholm about that. I think we'd rather just stay out of this study, but if it comes in, I mean, I think why not discuss it? We're kind of on the fence on ROFRs because on the one hand, if there's a utility that can't serve or won't serve, and that opens up the opportunity for somebody else to come in. I understand that, but that also opens it up to a much broader, opens up a bigger can of worms. So if it stays out of this study, we're fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that. Didn't mean to put anybody on the spot.
That's all right.
Just interested.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Who
Thanks.
else would like to testify? Why don't we fill out the chairs? Anybody else want to testify? I see we've got a one-legged Rocky Mountain Power guy, but no, we've got the two-legged one coming up. What happened to your local council? He's got crutches sitting there in the corner. I'd like to know. Was this over the announcement that you had?
Yeah, he got into a big fight over Washington State and wanted us to keep it. And I said, no, we're gonna fight over it. And I won, if you can believe it. No
So,
no one thought that Tom Carter could take on Nate Nicholas, but I could.
Good to see you, Mr. Carter. Welcome.
Good to be here, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Tom Carter, Rocky Mountain Power. Great, always great to be up here with you in Wyoming. Really appreciate the work that the sponsor and the Energy Authority and the working group did yesterday to get this to a good place. We had some concerns with some of the conversation that was taking place early in the week, that maybe the study was getting too broad. And, we think that good conversations about transmission is really important. We do spend a lot of time talking about generation, and generation is cool and generation is neat and everybody loves talking about generation, but transmission is the highway. Transmission is how we move electrons. And I worry we don't spend enough time talking about transmission and pain points on transmission. And that is something that impacts Wyoming a lot. And having the Energy Authority do a deep dive like this, giving them the tools and ability to talk about what our needs are, and then working through a working group that to provide some perspective and expertise can provide everyone that participates in this process with important information. And I think these changes that are being proposed by the sponsor can be beneficial to help us as a company and us as a community to provide perspective and opportunity. And so I appreciate these amendments, and I appreciate the leadership that the state is showing as we look at ways in which we can grow appropriately here.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Questions for Mr. Carter? Do appreciate it. And good to see you. Mr. Bush, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. David Bush here on behalf of Black Hills Energy. Just also want to voice my gratitude for the committee and Senator Boner for working with us on this and getting this done. And hopefully we can move forward and have a positive outcome and some good information to work from when we finish. So just wanted to lend my support.
Excellent. Any questions for Mr. Bush? Thank you. Does anybody wish to testify against it? I'm sensing that we could probably wrap this up and then begin a discussion of the next bill, but I might be wrong, so I don't want to cut anybody off. If you feel a need to testify, is there anybody online? I'm looking again at the room. Committee, you've heard.
Mr. Chairman, just
Senator Dockstader.
quickly, I was unable to attend the meeting. The prime sponsor wasn't, but he's been tracking it very close. Could we have a summary statement from the prime sponsor?
Absolutely. Senator Boner, you up for that?
The summary statement
Yeah, just maybe.
of the amendment or overall? Yeah, I think that this, appreciate everybody's input. One of those things where you think you got all the cats wrangled in one corral and turns out you didn't, but yeah, appreciate everybody's patience and willingness to work to improve the bill. I think that this is the whole point of having this legislation is that we have the ability to get wide public input on the way the Energy Authority conducts this study, because it is going to set the stage, I think, for a very important discussion as we look at massive load growth throughout the American West, relative lack of organization compared to other parts of the country. I think that's going to only become more of a pressing matter, especially as other Western states begin to require things like joining RTOs by a certain date and things like that. Once again, not suggesting, and that's the right fit for Wyoming. I appreciate the work that went into making that absolutely clear in the bill. I really appreciate all the work and I look forward to working the bill and adding these amendments and moving on.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Move the bill.
Got a motion by Dockstader on the bill. Are there any amendments? Senator Boner.
Mr. Chairman, I move the amendments that are the product of the working group that were described by Mr. Krieger. If you'd like, I can go through line by line, but I think we already did that and staff has the copy, so.
I think Mr. Krieger did. Just want to make sure that was available to everybody if they wanted to see that. So, all right. Any discussion? All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The amendment is carried. Is there anything else on the bill?
Just real quickly.
Senator Landon.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to go to page 4, and I wondered if November 1st, on the results of phase one, if that meets with what you think might be useful to the committee, is there anything gonna come about, sooner that might help us to do anything in the next session? I'm just throwing out, are these dates okay?
Senator Boner, want to comment on the
Yeah,
dates?
yeah, Mr. Chairman, that was something that we did get some input from the utilities on. They did ask for those dates. And I point out that it's no later than, it could always be earlier. And I think feedback I got from the Energy Authority is it probably would be earlier than that exact date. I have confidence in everybody's ability to work together. And if there's an interest in some sort of legislation that's a result of the various phases of this study, I think we'd be able to all work together and schedule our end terms appropriately.
Great. Thank you very much. Anything else? Any other amendments? Let's call the roll on the bill.
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote for Senate File 102. Senator Boner.
Aye.
Senator Dockstetter.
Aye.
Senator Landon.
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz.
Aye.
Chairman Case.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that's 5 aye.
Okay, that's passed committee. Senator Boner will carry it on the floor. The next file for our consideration is Senate File 117. Just to be clear, let's break the committee off at 1:45 so that we can get back up there. So that will likely mean that we won't finish Senate File 117, but it would be my intention to take it up Friday morning. When's the last day for
Thursday.
Thursday is the last day to come out of committee. So committee will have to talk about what we do if we don't finish it. Senator Pappas. Go
Thank you,
ahead.
Mr. Chairman. Stephen Pappas, Senate District 7. This bill is an old friend. We saw it last year. We passed it exactly as I have brought it forward to you. I was asked to bring this forward by the Wyoming Business Alliance. As you know, they're focused on helping their members find workforce. And one of the biggest problems in increasing workforce is significant housing shortages in Wyoming. And so 90% of the Wyoming communities surveyed in Wyoming by the Association of Municipalities reported that they have housing shortages. In 2024, that was 39% lower than 2018 levels. So we're going in the wrong direction. Behind these shortages is one of the issues is an over-regulated housing market. And so that's what this bill aims to correct. We currently have a very inelastic housing marketplace, and regulations and lack of capital for water, sewer, and roads is also impacting the supply of housing. So what, just quickly, you saw this last year. What it does is it lessens the requirements for protesting. We have, if you, just to be quick, we'll go through the bill. The main points of the bill is that if you look on page 1, down in lines 12 through 15, we are going to change the bill. It had 20% of the folks that could protest. We're changing that number to 33%. So there's an additional, it sets a higher bar for the number of people that can protest. But also, if you look in line 15, who demonstrate a concrete and particularized harm. The intent there is not anybody who just wants to bellyache. They have to show some harm for protesting. Then we also have included, and we changed this last year. It was 140 feet for the distance where you have to notify surrounding property owners. We changed it in Senate at last year at 300 feet. Includes more people. So it's more inclusive of people. And then finally, the current statute says that the change is not effective except upon affirmative vote of 3/4 of all the members of the voting body, which is a high mark. And so we are changing that to 2/3. So that's what this bill does. I do have a couple of, I'm going very quickly, so. if
We
you-
need that.
Yeah.
You go
Um,
fast.
So there are a couple of changes that the Wyoming Association of Municipalities would like me to make, and they're friendly amendments as far as I'm concerned. And I can get to those if.
Just tell them right now.
Okay, so first of all, on line 14, right after the word owners, they would like to insert the words of record as shown by the county assessor.
Okay.
Okay. And then on line 11 and on page 2, they would like to include a new paragraph B. And it states, the municipal clerk's certification of sufficiency shall be final and not subject to further administrative review. And they can explain why they would like that.
Read it again.
The municipal clerk's certification of sufficiency shall be final and not subject to further administrative review.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll take those up
So
at the proper time.
with that, I'll let all the concerned parties speak,
Thank you very much, Senator.
unless you have questions of me.
Any questions for the senator? Thank you very much. Who would like to testify on this bill? We have chairs. Let's fill them all out. Word of the gun and absent having a special meeting, we have to finish this today. Mr. McKay.
Mr. Chairman, Randy McKay, President of the Wyoming Business Alliance. Thank you so much for taking this issue up. I'll be very brief and let you ask any questions you have. But I'm joined by 2 other members of the Regulatory Reduction Task Force that worked 2 years ago in the interim and worked on this issue. And so I had several meetings on this and just identified this as one of the main levers that the state can pull when it comes to reducing regulations on housing. And we have seen harm from this. There is somebody online who was planning to be online who lost a project due to this. And so do just really think that this would be helpful. But really appreciate the municipalities who've worked to reduce their regulations and zoning on housing. Those all do impact cost and carrying capacity on projects. And so this is just one of those other ways to give some more certainty to folks who are trying to develop here, that the bar is a little bit higher to try to overturn a vote of a town council when you're trying to move a project forward. And especially this is looking at multifamily or denser zoning as can really help because we need more doors for housing in Wyoming and we want free market solutions ideally. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Questions for Mr. McKay? Any questions? Ms. Delancey.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Cindy Delancey. I, as Mr. McKay indicated, was a member of the task force, the Regulatory Reduction Task Force, the Government Efficiency Task Force, the Endow Task Force, the Engage Task Force. I think I've served on almost every task force, and this is a common theme of all that body of work from all those different task force. Testifying in my individual capacity today, not on behalf of anyone else, but we spent a lot of time in this building identifying problems, and this really presents us with a potential solution. And just so important to get those tools out there, let people move an issue forward. And I think that this is the right lever that's needed at the right time, and ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Delancey? Ms. Delancey, since you're a real attorney, can I ask you a question? You can decline to answer if you don't feel comfortable, but the new language on line 15, page 1, demonstrate a concrete and particularized harm. What does that mean, and what's the implication of that?
Thank you, Mr.
And
Chairman.
you don't have to answer if you don't want to. If you feel comfortable, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was unaware of that language, so I'd love to take a look at that and maybe get with you or the committee offline, and we can talk about it before if it
Perfect
advances.
answer. Thank you. Anything else from Ms. Delancey? Thank you. Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Mike Martin, I'm the board chairman for the Wyoming Community Development Authority and was also, as mentioned, on the Regulatory Reduction Task Force. Want to just mention supporting the bill from the authority, but also we completed a statewide housing strategic plan about a year ago, just a little over a year ago. And one of the specific recommendations to try to help move housing forward in the state was to take up this bill that was a result of the task force that we all sat on. So here to support the bill and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Questions for Mr. Martin? Thank you very much. You can't help me with that language, can you?
No, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Let's get the next batch. Is there more people who want to testify? Our goal is to finish this before we go back up, so we're gonna stretch it a little bit, but we need to move.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. My
Go
name is
ahead.
Matt Murdock. I am the mayor of Pinedale and also the president of WHAM. I just want to say thank you to Senator Pappas for working with us and including us in the drafting of this. We are in favor of this bill as currently drafted. We did ask for the inclusion of the town clerk, simply because there could be a discussion within the town councils, and it can be the clerk that can determine, yes, this resolution does pass and it meets the requirements. Oftentimes having a 3/4 also threshold could be difficult. If you had a 5-member town council, that would require 4 people to vote for it. And so reducing it to 2/3 is better. And then finally, the 300 feet is acceptable. I think everybody needs to be aware that will be an additional cost to towns and counties or towns because we'll have to advertise to more people, but it's acceptable and it definitely include more involvement. So to keep it brief, I'll stand for questions if you like, but
Any questions for Mr. Murdock, Mayor Murdock?
thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to
We're
see
only
you.
40 miles away, but we never see each other.
It's so true.
Mr. McLaren.
Mr. Chair, just happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. I am interested in the demonstrated concrete and particular harm. And I'm also interested in the fact that that the findings of the clerk, there's no opportunity to challenge that. So anybody want to talk about that? Go ahead.
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Murdock, Mayor Murdock.
You know, I think as Senator Pappas pointed out, the language demonstrating concrete and particular harm is somebody's gonna have to prove that they're actually hurt because of this before they just file. So I think we're acceptable. I had some other language, but then came back and I was like, this is acceptable language. The other element is this can still have a judicial review. So this would only be within a town council. If there was something that took place, then the town clerk could then make, yes, let's make the threshold. But if somebody still wanted a judicial review, then that still takes place. Ready?
Mr. McKay?
Mr. Chairman, that language came to the Regulatory Reduction Task Force, and it was in a conversation about, and sometimes we have added a little humor to the conversation that it added something. So if you just don't like Rennie McKay, and so you're just gonna, because I got a zoning change for my property, and you're not a big fan of mine, people could just file it with no reason to say that it is a bad change. So you have to demonstrate that particularized harm so that there would be this standard that you would have to bring forward to say, we're protesting this because of the harm it causes our property value, our existence, not just because I don't like Rennie McKay.
Fair enough, but we could discuss this a lot. I think if you have to demonstrate something, you're going to say something, well, I'm against it because it'll increase traffic on my road. And then, you know, then that's rebuttable. Will it increase traffic? No, there's another access. It'll, some people just don't like Rennie McKay. It's just the bottom line.
That was the issue.
Just a joke, everybody, just a joke. Anyway, we'll discuss more maybe, but thank you. You've all had your chance. Anybody else want to testify? Anybody else want to testify in the room? Anybody else online?
Mr. Chairman, we did have a Jason Steven testify or register to testify on this bill, but there's no one online.
Mr. Stevens? Okay. Well, committee, you've heard the testimony. What is your pleasure? Motion by Dockstader, discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Landon.
I would move the proposed amendments. I believe it was by WHAM, but the bringer of the bill articulated both, and that goes into line 14.
So would you mind if we divided those?
No, I would not mind that. Let's take the first amendment on line 14, page 1.
Senator Pappas, come up and sit with us and say the language again. If I recall, it was the owners of record as shown by the county assessor. Is that discussion? Is that for us? Is that any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and as I recall, the second one was to add a B about,
Rick, would you like me to reread it?
I would, thank you.
B, the municipal clerk's certification of sufficiency shall be final and not subject to further administrative review.
And so if I understand the interplay with Mr. McKay and about this being, you can still review this, you can still take it to court. It's
Correct.
just saying you don't have a solution within the administrative process of the municipality. So you can't challenge it. And that kind of means the city council can't challenge it either, I think. Doesn't that mean that they can't say, this was inadequate, you didn't post it? It stands. I'm looking at a mayor, but if you want to, if you can talk quickly.
Essentially, if the threshold is met, Mr. Chairman,
Is your
Matt
mic on?
Murdock, Mayor Pinedale. So essentially what it means is that when it comes and the threshold is judged to be correct and somebody came back and challenged it, the town clerk would be able to say, the threshold is met, it hit the 2/3. If you weren't there, too bad type of thing. So it'll be that within the operation. So the council, once somebody comes and challenges that vote, the town clerk would say that the vote was sufficient within that vote.
Appreciate you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
Thank you
sorry.
very much.
Talking
Any
quickly to
questions?
get into your
Any
time.
questions? All those in favor of this second division to add the part B, roughly line 11 on page 2, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that? No. I think I'm a no too, but I think we have 3. I'm going to count Moner, Landon, and Dockstader as ayes. Steinmetz and Case is no on that. All right. Anything else on the bill?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Senator Steinmetz.
Mr. Chairman, I struggle with that, who demonstrated concrete and particularized harm on page 1, 14 and 15. And so I need to find out more information, but just making the committee aware, I may have a committee of the whole amendment on that. It's concerning to me. Because this is a balance between private property rights and what we're allowing in these zoning protests. And we've had some situations around Torrington where people have not wanted, these types of things to happen. And we're raising the bar for that. And so I have concerns about this bill. I'll vote it out of committee, but I may be a no on the floor. Thank you.
And Senator Steinmetz, if you wished, you could make a motion to get rid of line 15 at the bottom of the page. And I think would still read. I personally would support you on that.
Mr. Chairman, so moved. I would just, at beginning on line 14, who demonstrate a concrete and particularized harm, and I would take that out, and I think that then the who, the
Okay.
next who makes sense. So
Exactly.
I would move that.
Okay, discussion? All those in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
I think it's a 3-2. Back on the bill. Anything else on the bill? And just by way of process, that's divisible. When the standing committee comes out, the amendment, you can just divide it and we can have that discussion on the floor just as easily as if she brought the motion separately. So anything else on the bill? Call the roll on the bill.
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote on Senate File 117 as amended. Senator Boner.
Aye.
Senator Dockstader. Senator Landon.
Aye.
Senator Steinmetz. Chairman Case.
Aye. All right, let's
Is-
go back to work. We're adjourned. That's passed. Thanks to you, everybody.
Thank you, committee, for efficient.
Try to avoid
dispatch of the
Valerie on
bill.
your way out.
So
She's
that's
she's
correct.
hunt
That's
bear.
all the way to the top of page, all the way to